And you are live.
Good morning. I call the Audit Committee to order. Present are Alderwomen Bindle Charles and Tierney and Jim Cardello and Anne-Marie Baker. So we have our full complement, or almost full complement. So the meeting is called to order. We have just had the roll call. Next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda? I assume everybody has the agenda before them.
I move that we approve the agenda as circulated.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Ayes have it. All right. As very appropriate, first item on the agenda is old business is the Audit Committee vacancies.
Approval of the minutes, Mr. Chair.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, approval of the minutes. Yes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes as submitted?
Mr. Chair, I ask a correction on the minutes.
All right.
The next to last, actually, I believe it's the last sentence on the minutes indicates that following the April meeting, the next meeting is June. Can we correct that to say the next meeting is May 20th?
That would make us legitimate, wouldn't it? Yes.
That's just, no.
Is there any other corrections to the minutes?
No.
With that correction, is there a motion to approve the minute? Well, there was a motion. Is there all those in favor of the minutes as amended?
Second. Yeah, second.
All those in favor of the minutes as amended signify by saying aye.
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 Ayes have it. All right. Now, for Rhonda and Ellie, you and we three need to make a motion and approve selection of Anthony. Boy, I don't have his name in front of me. What is his last name, Jim?
Nobilio.
Nobilio as a member of the Audit Committee so that we can make him official. I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. All right. So now, Kim, I guess that gets submitted to, I guess does it have to go before the city council? Or is he now a member? I have to check the code. We probably have to do something to get Anthony signed in on the log, but I'll follow up. But we've done what we need to do on that right now.
Kim has her hand up, Mr. Chair.
Oh, yes. Kim, I didn't see your hand. Please. Well, let's all give Kim a hand. Kim, are you on?
Kim is speaking, but we can't hear her through the meeting. I can hear her speaking in the other office. But so we'll see what's happening with her audio here.
She's on
You
mute.
might have to come in and tell us over here.
She's on mute.
Yeah.
It says it's mute. It does say it's muted.
Okay.
Okay, all right, you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay, so what the alderman said is there's basically a three-step process. You've identified the multi-step process. You've identified the candidate. Secondly, the alderpersons on the audit committee have voted, and you are voting to send his candidacy to city council.
Okay.
So I will email city council notifying them of today's vote.
Great.
And then after today, it'll be up to city council to then approve Mr. Nobilio. Following that, he will have to be sworn in. So there's multi-layers that go on here. And also just a reminder, I don't have his email. Somebody can send it to me.
Okay, yeah, I'll do that.
Thank you.
All right. So I will ask Cynthia to put it on the agenda for next Monday. Jim.
Question, can he be voted on and sworn in at the same council meeting?
Yeah. It'll just go on the agenda as an approval, and we probably even put it in the consent calendar unless somebody has objection.
Okay, so I guess so you'll need to notify him that at
Oh, well,
this
yeah, no, I
council
need to
meeting.
notify him.
At this
No, he
council
doesn't have
meeting,
to be
you
there,
will be
but he
sworn.
will. He doesn't have to be there, but he will. There's a log that you sign in, so that he'll just have to make arrangements to go to City Hall to sign the log.
Right.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
if he comes to the council meeting, can our city clerk bring a book so that he can sign it there?
we can do that.
I think that's what Mr. Cardelio was saying.
I guess, yeah, that's what I was trying to get.
Oh,
Thank
sure.
you. Thank you. I was
All right.
trying to say we could take, he would just need one meeting where he is both voted on and sworn in.
Signed in. Yes. Yeah, I'll take care of that. All right, I thought that was going to be an easy one. Let's see if performance measures and strategic plans goes as smoothly, which is the next item on the agenda.
I'm gonna keep my video off just because I'm driving right now. So as far as performance measures are concerned, one of the previous meetings we had talked about, I believe that there is actually a section of code that requires performance measures to be reviewed, and for council to actually have a vote by the end of January, kind of approving that this is how we want to look at things. This is the lens through which we want to judge how things are going and what's important to us. So that's the goal that I'm working toward. Alderman Arnett has been gracious with his time in spending some time with me thinking through performance measures associated with the strategic planning that council has undertaken and that the department heads are now working on for action plans. I'll probably be doing some follow-up with the departments, the 4 departments that I worked with this past year, but then there are 4 new departments that I'll be working with. I know that IT has already contacted me about being one of those 4. And so then I need to select 3 more. So that's my goal, kind of follow up from the previous year, do 4 new ones, and then have the strategic measures related to the strategic plan. In terms of council, if council has to vote by the end of January, then I'm assuming coming to you guys to talk about where things are, probably December at the latest sounds like the right timing to me. Does that sound like the right timing to you guys?
It does to me.
Me too.
I know we have a lot of work yet to do.
Okay.
Question. Hi,
Ellie,
question.
Alderwoman Tierney.
Yeah, thank you. Vicki, I'm sorry, I don't have the code in front of me. Who approves the performance measures? Is it city council? I thought it was the audit committee.
No, well,
You know what? We're in there somewhere.
I believe it's both. That
Yeah.
that the audit committee basically has some recommendations, and then I think the full council then has that last word that they and I'm gonna have to go back into code to look at it. I don't remember off the top of my head.
That sounds
Maybe
right. Is that in Title 2?
It's in the audit. It's in the audit code.
Oh, it's in our, well, then it's in the charter.
It's kind of like how the finance committee reviews the budget. I guess we would then send our recommendations to the council.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll clear that up. But I think the point is that it's a work in progress. We're working simultaneously, Victoria and I, on the strategic plan and the relationship to the performance measures. And we have the third item, which is also working, which is the implementation steps for the comprehensive plan, which I'd like to see integrated makes sense. But Mr. Cardillo, you have your hand up.
Thanks. I guess my question is, if the next time performance measures are presented to the audit committee is December, will we be seeing, I guess, the first quarter of the fiscal year kind of worksheet or matrix or report at that time?
So that's a good question. December feels a little bit later to me for that.
Yeah.
I
I
would
would
probably
say October feels better to me.
Well, I'm not trying to set expectations that can't be achieved. I'm just saying if the next time we're presented with the status of operating results against performance measures is December, my expectation would be we'd see the first quarter. So that's July, August, September.
Well, so that's a good question, and that's actually not one that we've talked about or done here, which is there's the development of performance measures, and then there's the looking at the results of them. My assumption is that you probably will see results before then. What I was thinking of for December was to talk about what do we want them to be for those categories, the ones where we're going to redo them, and then the kind of overarching ones. But the performance itself, probably before that.
Okay, thanks.
What we'll
No, it's a good question.
Why don't we flesh this out? It's going to be on the agenda for the June meeting, and so we'll have a little bit better timeline. Ms. Buckland, you and I we're going to be meeting again fairly soon, and we'll talk about that when we do the next round of strategic plan, which, by the way, I have I'm contacting a professor at the community college to talk about that role in government that you and I were discussing in our last meeting, and flesh out that trajectory that from no role to provider of services that I'd sent you. I think that's something that is a good underpinning. And I've also contacted Alderwoman Finlayson and Alderman Savage to go over the wording that is underpinning the 7 strategic goals that we worked on in January of 23, to do some wordsmithing or breaking it into its constituent pieces per the framework that was in I think it was the January 7th, 23 framework that was before the council at its first work session. Anyway, that's a aside to Ms. Buckland, not necessarily germane to this meeting, but there is work going on, and I'm actually very pleased that we're making what feels to me like some good progress.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you. Drive safely. All right, is there any other discussion on performance measures and strategic plans? I will just say that it has been very energizing, I would be the word, working with Victoria. We're getting into some things that are kind of fun. I like governance, I like thinking about governance, and so we're digging into some pretty interesting topics. I got out my copy of Reinventing Government by Vice President Gore, and just having a real delight. Next topic is risk assessment, fraud and abuse hotline. I've not received any notification of any new fraud or abuse. I don't think we have anything active going on with this at this point. Is there any comment, question, observation from the committee? All right, new business. Report from the finance director. And believe we have a guest here to talk to us too. Is that correct? Jody?
I'm sorry.
We're on the finance director report.
Okay, so on new business, I can do, I see that my report is after the talk about the audit.
Right, that's fine.
Okay, so when talking about the external audit, the partner from UHY has reached out to me and wants to talk about adjusting our fees upward. They are not, their profitability on this is nowhere. And they put a lot more hours in than they anticipated and under anticipated the complexity of our work. And we have a contract, and the audit committee is the one who helped choose the auditor. And I didn't want to do this in a vacuum. And we're meeting with him next Tuesday at 5. And I don't know what role, how you want me to handle this as far as considering an increase in fees. We are under a contract, and legally they understand that. And but this is also, my concern is this is a bridge I do not want to burn. When we had bids, all the other bidders were either not responsive or higher, much higher. So it's not an overwhelming surprise to me that this is happening, because when we got the bid, we questioned them about their understanding of our work, and they contended they were still okay with their bid. So, you know, this is our choice to move ahead with this and consider the request. There's not a lot of audit firms out there doing government audits now. So, and we're very happy with their service. So I wanted to know how you want to be involved. And then if you want me to bring back a final decision to the committee, or just work with somebody from the committee to help consider the request and determine if we'll consider the increase on the contract and by what amount.
So I have some questions, but let me defer to the committee at this point to see if anybody else has questions or observations.
Yeah, Jody,
Jim.
can you please refresh our memory? The contract was a 3-year at a fixed fee, is that, am I right?
3 or 4, I think it might be 4.
Okay, so
And
4 at a fixed fee.
yeah, I don't have it in front of me, but we had the set fee. It's not fixed. They gave us a inflation rate for a couple of the
okay, an
years. So the
escalator.
first 2 years I think were fixed, and then there was a inflation factor. But they want this. They've done it twice now. They've done the audit twice. He says they're losing a lot of money on the work. So anyway, so it's the last 2 years, and normally we'd have a factor, a CPI factor that we'd apply to the contract. But
Is he losing money because of hours spent, or because his rate per hour has gone up?
no, hours spent.
Hours spent.
My understanding, yeah.
Okay.
This is your business, Jim, so we're going to be looking
just
for
listening.
some guidance, but Alderwoman Tierney.
Yeah, hi, refresh my memory. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Refresh my memory, Jody, was the bid based on lump sum and a fee, or was it a fee?
Well, it was a lump sum for the audit plus
Yeah.
an amount, 70, it was, and I'm gonna do this off the top of my head. I wish I had the contract in front of me. I'm sorry, I'm not prepared. It was 55-ish, and then 7,500 for each program that they had to audit for the single audit. And that can be 1 or 2 or 3, depending on how many large programs we had. And, you know, that's bringing them in somewhere in the low 60s. I believe that our former auditors, when they rebid, they bid closer to $100,000. So as you can see, there was a big difference there, which is why we spent some time talking them through it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, you know what I'm getting at, to see what the disparity was to the next bidder and where they probably should have been.
Yeah, and what my former auditor is two things. One, this is a complex audit that they don't, they didn't make a lot of profit on. And they had also just been awarded the state audit, so their staff was going to be spread thin, and they made the decision to bid only if they could make a substantial, I won't say profit, but make good realization on the job, which is why they picked that high number.
Well, sometimes relationships are a good, big factor here, and I think we picked the right team.
We really enjoy working with them. That's why I want to consider this. I think from a legal standpoint, we could hold them to the contracted amount, but then in 2 years, we may not get a bid from them. So.
Is this still Jack Reagan? Is he,
So he's no longer the partner on our job. Jason Ostrowski.
Jason is the engagement partner.
He's now the lead.
And Jason is the one pitching the fee increase.
So I have a question and then a proposal to put to the committee. The question is, how much money are we thinking about here? And do we have it budgeted?
Not per se, no. I keep a little extra in my financial audit services budget just in case things like this happen. I'll have to see where we're at, but even if we don't have any there, I have a lot of turnover in my salary account that we could use from a budgetary perspective. I don't know the amount yet. That's why we're meeting with him to talk about what amount he wants to zero in on. That's why I wanted to know if somebody wants to participate in that meeting.
Well, that's my proposal to put to the committee. I have obviously or not sure it's obvious, but I have no experience or expertise here, but we do have a member of the committee who does, and that's Mr. Cardillo.
And
I would be more than happy to suggest to the committee that rather than having endless meetings with us, that we entrust the director to do this negotiation, and that she seeks support from Mr. Cardillo in terms of the reasonableness of any escalation that we make. So I make that as a proposal. Is there a second?
That's acceptable. Yeah, I understand. It's simply looking at contracted services and the value of contracted services, and did they enter an agreement with eyes open? Did they enter an agreement not knowing the scope of the work required? And
yeah, but the other factor is, do we have somebody that we're comfortable with and want to keep around? So we'd like them to be satisfied with doing business with us. So, but those are, and I think the director has made that point, both that she's happy and enjoys working with them. And then the other thing is, do we have the budget? Can we afford the escalation? And I think we've gotten an indication that there are resources there. So, but this would be delegating from unless the committee wants to bring this back. I don't know how quickly this would occur or how quickly it needs to occur. It would be delegating it to the director and our board member rather than bringing it back to the committee. And I have no strong opinion. It's just it seems to me that makes it more expeditious.
I think we'd need to decide if you're meeting in June. I don't know if there's a meeting set for June or not.
Yes.
We definitely, if you wanted to vote on it, we'd have to clear it then. The reason that it came up was he's starting the planning process for this next audit, and he wanted to talk about it before we got into the work. So like I said, next Tuesday at 5 p.m., I think we have a virtual call. Julie and I were going to do the call with them to find out what they're looking for. But if Jim wants to get an invite to that call, then we'll.
I was going to say, does that meet with your schedule? Well, first of all, we haven't really determined, and we haven't heard from the sage on the committee, Anne Marie, how this is all sounding. So I want to include everybody, but we're sort of noodling around. But does that meet your schedule with your schedule, Jim? If we decide to go that way?
I can accommodate that meeting on Tuesday, the 28th.
So Anne Marie,
Just one consideration that Ms. Dickinson, I'm sure is already on your radar, but is just bringing into the conversation with them the like consistency of the team. So I feel like if we do agree to additional fees, maybe as part of that, it's making sure that there's consistency, at least on the upper tiers of the team, manager, senior manager, all of those people that you probably deal with a lot.
Okay.
Because I think if we try to stick to the initial contract, it's much more likely that they'll, turn over the team potentially, and really a lot of the benefit is liking the people we work with and having consistency.
Yeah,
So just
yeah, and the responsiveness, they've been very responsive when we are doing our audit, regardless of how many hours they're pouring into the job, they're very responsive.
right, and that's key to getting the audit done, I imagine. So that's all I have. Just keeping that in mind.
thank you. Alderwoman Tierney.
Yeah, just one last thought. It's actually ironic that an auditing company is asking us to relook at a contract. So I'm just concerned, we do have procurement code. We don't want to set, standard here. We can go back a little bit less of that, what I'm trying to say, but they are per procurement standard. That be clear that this is the year or something.
So I don't know if anybody else is having problems hearing Ellie.
Yeah, you're
Your
breaking up.
audio is breaking up a little bit.
The essence, though, is are we doing this according to procurement?
Yeah, I had a conversation with our procurement officer too about this, and he commented on, can we find areas where they had to do more than they anticipated? I would say yes, loosely. So that's another thing we can talk about. In addition, we're asking them this next year to help us more on creating the book. And I wanted to know how much they charge for that. So we pull the fund statements together, but pulling that final big book together is a feat, and it falls on my assistant director. So I think that I want her to spend more time doing accounting and finance work than pulling a book together. So we're going to ask them to help after we get the initial financial statements pulled together, pull the book together.
So first of all, it seems like you're meeting fairly quickly. Secondly, it seems like you're actually renegotiating the deliverables. And then thirdly, it is a little uncomfortable to not know the dollar amount. But I think the fourth thing is exactly what Alderwoman Tierney raised. I want to make sure we're not going to be subject to somebody who didn't win the bid coming back and saying, hey, we would have covered the same thing or done the same thing. So would it be, I don't know what the time urgency is. Would it be okay if you went ahead with your negotiations, brought back a proposal for the meeting in June, whatever it is, the third Monday in June? Is that timely enough to take care of this?
I think that'll work for them. They may have started a lot of their planning work, but that's not going to change regardless of if we end up contracting for more funds or not. They're still got to start the process. It's still a part of the existing scope, so it's not going to change anything. I would, and I appreciate your assisting here because I've never dealt with this before. So, and I know it's your purview, so I want your advice on it.
So I will put my comfort level, and we'll see if it resonates with the rest of the committee, is that we have Jim's volunteer help for the director in doing this call on Tuesday. You'll come up with the new compensation amount and the new deliverables and your warrant, Jody, that you're comfortable with where this is going and that you have the funds, and we'll just put it on the agenda for approval at our next meeting. That will be going in the minutes, and therefore we're fully documented process should there ever be any challenges or concerns. Does that seem like a good way to go with the rest of the committee members by a show of hands? It's not really a motion, but all right. So that's our informal sense of what we'll be hearing about at our June meeting. Is there anything else on this matter? And is there any update from the finance director on other financial matters?
So really, the same old, right? Hiring. We did several interviews, both for our side and for the senior buyer in the last couple weeks. And I'm gonna get ready to try and make some offers. We'll see how it works. Again, the issue is always the pay, because people that are working outside the organization, I find their salaries are more competitive. And the budget, as you know, the budget team is pulling together the amendments that have come from council, so that's a big push here. And on the accounting side, they're trying to get all the accounts caught up so we can head into the audit and close out the year and be prepared for that. It's going to be a little difficult because we're down 3 different accountants right now. So that's
Right.
because we moved. One of them is because of a shift internally. We hired somebody, moved them up, and their seat got vacated. I filled the senior accountant for accounts receivable. That position is now open. And then we had 2 different accountants leave in the last few months. So that combined, I've got 3 internal accountant positions to fill now. And the senior buyer, as you know, was filled with a temp, and then she left, and now we're back to recruiting for that.
Alderwoman Pendle Charles.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. 2 questions, Ms. Dickinson. Are the people that are leaving, are they leaving for higher pay? That's my first question. And number 2, approximately how many amendments are we looking at? If you can.
Oh, I don't know if I've got a count. We went through the pile the other day. I would say dozens, but I don't think we're to 100. So we're probably somewhere. I would guess. I'm thinking about 50 maybe. I can't, Katie was just going through the pages and we didn't do a count. So we should have a list ready at some point this week. So
Okay.
The people that have left, one took a job where there's more work from home capabilities. I don't know if the pay was greater. The other one was moving back out of state where she originally moved from several years ago. But it's just the timing of it. They left at the same time. And we shifted some people around. We've got some internal shifts for office manager going on as well. Oh, that's right. And we've just hired a billing, one of our billing clerks, accounting associates. We hired that, but we got that person from another department. So again, we're moving people around within the city, so it creates vacancies elsewhere. Other departments are also having trouble recruiting.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Dickinson.
Any dollar amount in terms of the total number of amendments requested?
No, and I couldn't tell you that anyway. Even if we had it, we don't have it listed. So that was one of the challenges, going through and adding it all up and seeing how much. If
Okay.
I'm almost certain there's not enough one-time funds, so we'll just leave it there.
All right. Is there anything else for the good of the order? We're getting more efficient, team. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, everyone.